You just lifted some tariffs on whiskey, is that correct?
Kentucky with the bourbon and Scotland with the whiskey, and they've had trade for years and years and years, and a lot of restrictions, a lot of different restrictions took place that didn't amount to much.
President Donald Trump says the United States is removing certain tariffs on Scotch whisky, following a White House visit this week by Britain's King Charles III and Queen Camilla. In a post on social media Thursday, Mr. Trump said the King and Queen persuaded him to make what he described as a rare move. The president said the change was driven in part by issues surrounding wooden barrels used to age Scotch and US bourbon. However, his remarks left some uncertainty over whether the tariffs were lifted on bottled Scotch whisky itself or on materials used in alcohol production. The White House did not immediately clarify the scope of the decision. But in Scotland and among industry lobbyists, the announcement was widely interpreted as a removal of tariffs on Scotch whisky. Later Thursday, US Trade Representative Jamieson Greer said the United States would offer preferential duty access for whisky produced in the United Kingdom, though it remained unclear whether that meant tariffs would be fully eliminated or reduced. Under a 2025 trade framework, the US imposed a 10% tariff on most British imports. The Scotch Whisky Association says exports to the US fell 15% after the tariffs were announced last year. Scotland's First Minister John Swinney called the move a tremendous success, thanking both the US President and King Charles. Mr. Trump later said the change was intended to help restore trade in barrels between Scotland and Kentucky, which produces nearly all of the world's bourbon.
You know, Kentucky, which is a great place, and I also won, Jason, by a lot. But Kentucky with the bourbon and Scotland with the whiskey, and they've had trade for years and years and years, and a lot of restrictions, a lot of different restrictions took place that didn't amount to much, and it really stopped them. I don't know if you know, it's a barrel trade. They use the barrels from the one to take care of the other, and the barrels are only good for one unit. In other words, they can't be used twice. They can only be used once, but the once makes it a better substance. I'm not a big drinker, so forgive me, but it makes them a big substance and a better taste. But they dealt for years. This was Scotland and Kentucky, mostly Kentucky. And I just took all the restrictions off, so Scotland and Kentucky can start dealing again. And I did it in honor of the King and Queen who just left. They're heading back. And it was a big deal. They've been trying to get this for a long time.